What's up, Giants fans, Hub watchers, YouTube and Rumble subscribers, Twitter and Instagram followers? It's Kush back at it again with another New York Giants draft recap video. As you can see, rocking the Giants draft hat. This thing has really grown on me. I like it a lot. It just looks nice to me, and it feels good. Like, it feels nice to wear. And the Saquon Barkley shirt, which I'm gonna take off my site soon because, well, it has Gary Brightwell and our backup running back from last year, Devontae Booker, so they're no longer here. But round 2 and 3 for the Giants just completed. We just drafted Cordale Flott, who I'll get into in a second. But let's talk about day 2 of the draft, which already has been a little bit more controversial than day 1 for the Giants and amongst Giants fans. Day 1 was kind of supremely and universally loved by everybody. Day 2 had 3 surprise picks that I can comfortably say are surprise picks not much people knew about. Let's start off with the first one. First, we traded down from pick 36, I think it was, then to pick 38. We got a we got a 5th round pick in return and pick 38. So essentially a free 5th round pick. Then we traded down from pick 38 to pick 43 and got an additional 4th. We got to 11 picks total, which, you know, it could be a pure coincidence, but in Joe Schoen's introductory press conference, he did say the Giants had 11 picks when at the time we had 9. Now we have 11. Now, here's the thing. Nakobe Dean has been a major talking point of the draft so far because he slipped all the way to pick 86, I believe it was, to the Philadelphia Eagles. So we saw Nakobe Dean slip for a number of factors, one being his injury history, 2 being the fact that he has a torn pectoral right now, apparently, and 3, he refused surgery on his shoulder, which I'm guessing is some sort of shoulder injury. That's a lot of injury concerns piling up, which caused him to slip all the way from first round down towards the bottom of the 3rd. In addition to that, the way this, some of this story is kind of framed, it almost seems as if he may have tried to hide the shoulder injury or the pec went out the 2, and that turned a couple teams off. I'm not saying that's what happened, but that's just the vibe it's giving off. Whatever the case may be, he dropped because of injury. Is my hat slanted? Yes, it was. But let's start off with going from pick 36 to 38. It seemed like the Giants wanted Christian Watson. Christian Watson went right before they picked, so they traded down. It seemed like the Giants wanted Andrew Booth. Andrew Booth went right before the Giants picked, so they traded down again. My problem is, if you wanted Christian Watson and you already had in mind somebody else, albeit at a different position, but you had Andrew Booth in mind, stay there and take Andrew Booth, because you risk him being taken, which is exactly what happened. And then once Andrew Booth was gone, it seemed like they went to their next option, which was Wan'Dale Robinson. And Wan'Dale Robinson, he is somebody that I thought could have been there in the 3rd round, is what I'll say. If I personally would have went with another receiver, I would have went with John Mechie, who went right after, I believe. I would have went with Alec Pierce ahead of him. Sky Moore was still on the board. George Pickens is probably the biggest name out there that I would have went with instead of Wan'Dale Robinson. But there's a couple factors to consider. When I'm looking at this pick, I'm looking at the fact that we got Wan'Dale plus a 4th round pick plus a 5th round pick. That's good value. But I won't sit here and lie and say he's a receiver I would have picked. Now, another thing you got to consider is the way that they will use him in this offense. When you look at him, you look at his skill set. Very fast, agile, Kadarius Toney-esque, Jalen Waddle-esque. You look at him, and he's also a slot guy, 5'8", I believe, so not too tall with the speed and whatnot. He's definitely a Kadarius Toney and Sterling Shepard insurance plan to me, meaning that if they go down with injury, or when they go down with injury in Sterling Shepard's case, he's going to step in. Also, having him and Toney, they have very similar skill sets. We know Toney, he's so talented. We know he makes a lot of people miss and is great with run after catch. So is Wan'Dale. Wan'Dale, even though he's small, is a very, very tough player, man. I haven't seen much of him, but when I took a little look, he gets hit hard and he still gets up and makes people miss and gets into the end zone. So good thing right there. But having him both on the field at the same time is, I guess, the only comparison I could make would be like having 2 Kadarius Toneys on the field, right? And that would be crazy for opposing defenses to try and stop. So and you look at the size and the frame again, and you look at Brian Daboll. He's worked with a guy like Cole Beasley, who's of similar size and had great success with him. It's like, okay, it makes a little bit sense, but I'm definitely thinking to myself, he could have been there in the 3rd round. You know what I mean? Maybe he's there in the 3rd round, and maybe I still go Pickens ahead, but not a terrible pick. You know, if I were to put a grade on it, I'd slap a B on it. The 2 additional picks we get in the 4th and 5th round really do help the move. Wan'Dale Robinson, in addition to all of that, being a good talent on the field, was graded by PFF as their #1 SEC wide receiver with a grade of 91.3, and he did have tons of production at Kentucky. I believe he had between 1,200 and 1,300 yards with 7 touchdowns. The guy can produce, and I hope that it translates well onto the NFL field. Right now, I'm looking at him, I'm like, okay, he's going to be a slot receiver that has potential to maybe become something greater at the NFL level. Now, getting to Josh Ezeudu, and I hope I'm not mispronouncing his name. The thing with Josh is that I actually really like this pick. He's probably my favorite pick of day 2, and I look at him as somebody that should be able to step in and start a left guard right away. He's from UNC. He's a really well-rounded blocker. He's good in pass protection. He's good in run blocking. He has nice athleticism and footwork. He also has really good and fast hands. He's somebody that has tons of experience at the position. He at left guard specifically has over 1,000 snaps, has over 500 snaps at left tackle, I believe. He has snaps at right guard and right tackle as well. Like, he's played all over the offensive line, and he's only given up, I want to say, 3 or 4 sacks in over 2,000 pass snaps. So he's somebody, once again, I look at him, I'm like, not somebody I would have taken at that particular position, just like Wan'Dale. I'm thinking maybe Dylan Parham here, but after looking into him a bit more and looking at a bit of tape and looking at some film here, really do like Josh Ezeudu, and I think that he has the potential to be our starting left guard. If we look at that position right now, you got Shane Lemieux and Max Garcia. If we're going to keep it real, Max Garcia is the only tough competition there. And then a little bit of a PFF grade here. He had an 83 run blocking grade in 2021, which was 3rd amongst all ACC guards. And if you go and you look at what, some other scouts have to say on Azito, they all kind of come away with one consistent conclusion, which is that he's a starting guard with upside. He has a lot of upside. He has stuff to work on, and that's what leads me to believe he will be sliding in at that spot for us as well. And if we look at the current O-line as of right now, I'm liking where the 2 rookies are. The 2 rookies on the O-lines are next to veterans, and they will have help. Thus they will have a lot of help next to them. They won't have to do a lot of stuff on their own, and they won't be struggling. It's always a bad thing, or always not a bad thing, but a concern if you have 2 rookies next to each other. If they're both struggling, you're going to have a terrible side of the line. But if you have a rookie and a vet, it's a little bit more balanced out. You have Andrew Thomas next to Josh Ezeudu here, and Thomas performed well with Shane Lemieux, who's a great run blocker. So is Josh. Bit more rounded, but he's a good run blocker as well. Then you got Feliciano in the center position, Glowinski to right guard from the vets, and then Evan Neal, our right tackle. Overall, revamped offensive line, and honestly, I'm liking the look of that offensive line in general. The Giants went definitely offense heavy for this draft. Finally, now we get to Cordero Flat with pick 81 of the draft, our 2nd, 3rd round pick. Remember, all the way through this, Nakobe Dean is slipping, and the reason I bring him up is because he's definitely somebody that was in play for the Giants, in my opinion, but they passed on him. They didn't want to take anybody with too many injury concerns, which I can respect because we have that on the offensive side of the ball, so I understand it. I really hate that he ended up going to the Philadelphia Eagles, though, man. He ended up going to our direct rival, which is going to suck if he does pan out. But getting back to now Cordale Flott, what I was thinking here, remember with Wan'Dale, there was a couple receivers I probably would have went ahead. With Ezeudu, there's one guy I would have went ahead of him, but I really do like the Josh Ezeudu pick. I'd give it, by the way, if I were to put a grade on it, I'd give it an A because I do think he's going to be our starting guard, and he has potential to become even better than he currently is. With Cordale Flott, I can't necessarily give a grade on it because I'm be honest, I don't know the guy. Like, at least I knew of Wan'Dale Robinson. I just need a refresher. I knew about Josh Ezeudu. I need a refresher. Cordale Flott, I don't know anything about. And this was a part in the draft where I was definitely expecting us to go tight end or linebacker, actually. Because, you got everybody's favorite linebacker. Leo Chenal is still there. My guy Chad Muma already went, so it is what it is. But you got Leo Chenal. Nakobe Dean was still there, of course. You got Brandon Smith out of Penn State. Then you look at the tight end spot. At that point, I believe Greg Dulcich was just stolen from our fingers, so that was a little bit sad. I don't know if the Giants had interest in him, But Greg Dolchich just went, Jelani Woods went, and I believe Trey McBride went. So really a lot of the top tight ends went. I thought this was maybe they would try and take their chance to get an Isaiah Likely here. I wouldn't have gone Jeremy Ruckert. I think it's a little bit too early. Jalen Weidemeyer is still there. Those are two guys that could have been in play. But I could see where they go with tight end later. That's when you'd go your Jeremy Ruckert. That's when you'd go your Jake Ferguson and whatnot. The tight end class is deep. With Cordale Flott and corner, the thing that I'm wondering is, did we need to take him? Is James Bradbury still going to be moved? What is happening with James Bradbury? As of right now, there's been no call. So are we going back to the negotiations table? Or are we going to have him for one more year or something? Because I don't expect Cordale Flott to come onto the field and, you know, reproduce or replace the production of James Bradbury. I don't think that's happening if Bradbury is gone. So at that point, I was thinking to myself, maybe we try and get a position, like a starter type position, like tight end or linebacker, instead of getting a depth corner position. And that's what I think this is. I think this is a depth pick. We'll see how it plays out. We do need a bit of depth on the secondary. Probably want to spend it here, though. There's also a defensive tackle. When you think about it, we probably could have gone with Haskell Garrett or Neil Farrell around here. But those guys would also be depth as well. So I can't hate on the pick too much. It's not somebody that I expected, not a position that I expected. But if they're thinking they need to improve the secondary depth considering what Wink's scheme is, then, I mean, that's what it is. And I can't give a fair grade on it because I don't know the player. Like I said, though, this has been kind of a controversial day 2, rounds 2 and 3 for the Giants, as opposed to the universally loved round 1 that we had. It's definitely going to be interesting, and I got to see what they do tomorrow with now 2 extra picks. Put your thoughts down below. Let me know what you think. Like, share, subscribe, and I'm out. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Thank you for checking out my channel, The Hub, here on Giants YouTube. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you hear every time I put out a video. Like it, share, and subscribe, and I'm out.